So we're going to talk about reasonableness today, and then I'm going to talk about a user comment. I'm going to put up some more Liquorville videos today for those who aren't particularly interested in this kind of stuff. And yeah, let me go ahead and give my legal disclaimer. Listen, these videos are for informational purposes only. This is not to be construed as legal advice. My Google search does not equal anybody's law degree under any stretch of the imagination. This is really just to get you interested in law and so you can start to look up these things yourself. Yeah, I make these videos primarily for security officers or people in the security field. But the information is useful to anyone. So let's talk about reasonableness. Reasonable man, prudent man, the legal definitions. Listen, I believe reasonable man and prudent man, most dangerous words, almost the most dangerous words in law, because it's highly contextualized, it's highly subjective. It means different things to different people. So I don't particularly like it. So, but let me start off with something. Remember the Rodney King beating? After the initial verdict, we're not talking about when they went to federal court for civil rights violations. We're talking about, state court. And those 4 officers got off. The prosecutor, the deputy district attorney, Terry White, said the verdict sends out a message that whatever you saw on that tape was reasonable conduct. Now, in my mind, there's no way in the world that was reasonable. Reasonable, as a definition, and we're using the law dictionary featuring Black's Law Dictionary. See, when you start looking up the legality, you don't look up reasonable in Merriam-Webster. You go to a law dictionary. This is a pretty good one. There's other ones online. If you start with the legal definition of this, and you go about 2 or 3 pages deep, you'll get different versions of it. But what is reasonable? Well, according to this particular law dictionary, agreeable to reason, just, proper, ordinary, or usual. Now that was is ordinary or usual. Now you apply that to what you saw in that Rodney King video, and was that ordinary or usual? Was it proper? Was it just? Once again, it's subjective. To the jurors on the jury, they thought it was proper. They thought it was ordinary and usual. They thought it was just. I think they're crazy. I don't agree with it. But highly subjective, highly contextualized. Let me see. So, but when you see reasonable man, what a reasonable man would do, what a prudent man would do, well, once again, we're looking at the law dictionary. Prudent, a term that means to use good judgment, be wise, sensible, and reasonably cautious. Cautious? Whoa. I'll get back to that one. We'll get back to this one. She looks pretty good. The preference under modern implementation of law is for judicial resolution regarding legality of arrest. No, that's something else. While reasonableness is meant to be an objective consideration, there have been differing court interpretations over this standard and the extent to which subjective belief is relevant. They're talking about self-defense. But while reasonableness is meant to be an objective consideration, there have been differing court interpretations over the standard and the extent to which subjective belief is relevant. It's contextualized. It's hotly debated. The people in charge don't agree with it. So here's what I suggest. And why I wanted to talk about reasonableness today. If you're doing security and you start to do your legal research and, can I do this? Should I do this? Can I do this? What I want you to do, every time you see reasonableness and reasonable man, I want you to take it and replace it with prudent. But prudent is to be wise and cautious. Well, wise is highly contextualized too. It's very subjective. It all depends on what the hell's going on, right? So take that out and just leave cautious. And cautious is to avoid risk. So should I break up that fight? Would a cautious man break up that fight? Well, let's look at your particular situation. Do you have any legal protections that if something went wrong that you would be protected? Do you have medical insurance? Do you have a legal obligation to act, whether contractual or does your state have a law that says that in certain instances a private citizen is obligated to act within their abilities? Those are the kind of questions you have to ask yourself. So do I break up this fight? Do I arrest this person? Can I arrest this person? Do I have the legal right to arrest this person? And if I can arrest this person, is it something that a cautious man would do? Is the penalty severe enough? What would general public opinion be about this if I did this and this went wrong? All these things you need to consider. And we get back to what a reasonable man would do. What a reasonable man would be usual and ordinary. Is it usual and ordinary for security people to go around arresting people? Not really. Is it usual and ordinary for a private citizen to go about arresting people? No, not really. Because once again, reasonable is what? Usual and ordinary. It's just, it's proper. Well, it can be proper, but it's not usual and ordinary. You could have the authority to do it. That's why I say throw that out. Is it cautious? Is it what a cautious man would do? And in almost all cases, the answer is no. Now, there was a lifeguard, I think it was here in Michigan, who, a bunch of students or a bunch of kids that was telling the lifeguard that this guy was drowning. And I think he walked into the locker room to change his clothes, and then I guess when he came back and checked on the guy, the kid was dead. I think initially he didn't get arrested, but then I think about a week later they put a charge on him because he had a duty to act. He was a lifeguard. Somebody's drowning. You have a duty to act. I'm sure that was in the agreement. I'm sure that was a part of his employment, his duty to act. Security guard, you may not have a duty to act. They may tell you specifically not to act. But, was it reasonable? Well, I don't know. That's why I say, what's reasonable? Was it reasonable for me to cuss at people in that environment? I thought so. Other people don't think so. But I thought it was necessary for me to get the job done. So fuck you. Get the fuck out my doorway. Nigga, you better back it up. The fuck you mean? Nah, man, I ain't trying to hear shit you got to say, player. There's the doorway. Find an exit. Right? Was it reasonable for me to talk to them? Was it ordinary and usual? Well, in that environment, it was. It was. It was ordinary and usual in that environment. I would argue that it was reasonable. But if you say cautious, but if you throw in cautious and prudent, maybe not. Now, when you look up the law, you got to look up and, but, nor. You got to understand and, but, nor. If you don't understand and, but, nor, you got a problem. So some laws will say has to be reasonable and prudent. That means it has to be iPhone and iPad. It has to be both. Reasonable and prudent. Some laws might say it could be reasonable or prudent. It could be iPhone or iPad. Right? Not both, but either one. It could be either one. Now, some laws written and or, and that's just poor legal writing. That's horrible. That's no way to write a law, and or. Fuck out of here with that. It's too goddamn vague. Which, reasonableness is too goddamn vague. So So you have to take all those things in consideration before you act. Is it reasonable? I say throw it out. Is it what a cautious man would do? And if the answer is no, the cautious man wouldn't do this, then don't. I guess unless you have a contractual agreement, the duty to act, man, I guess you wouldn't do it. Not without legal protections. Let's talk about my legal protections. What did I have down in downtown Atlanta? I had 16.3-24 and 16.3-24.2. You can look those up. 16-3-24 and 16-3-24.2. Georgia. Right? I'll just give you, there's a whole lot more in it. But yeah, it basically gave me a right to assault people while I'm on the property. And then and then I'd be immune from prosecution. So it's that. And then off the property, I use 17.4-60, citizen's arrest, which, leads me to, the last part of this video. The user comments, because I came across this guy by the name of Kawan Mohammed, and he's from Texas, and he owns a security company, and he has been in business for 10 years. And the video that he's giving me grief about, or he used to comment about my actions, is GRSE Atlanta, 10 April 14, Superman had a shitty day every day. Where the S in Superman and in shitty is a $, because I don't want kids looking up Superman coming up with this video. So, and I'm not going to go through every comment. I'll leave a link to this video if you want to go look at them. But basically it says, listen, dude, I understand that you're doing your job, but you're doing too much. You're not being a benefit to the community. You're putting your life at risk. You're making a bunch of enemies. You don't need to do all that. All you really need to do is observe and report. Right? I ask him why. Why is that all I need to do? Why can't I do more? It's not the way I did things reasonable in this particular environment. Would observe and report be the only thing that I can do, and would it be effective in this particular environment? Now we're talking about the Metro Mall. Then he goes on to tell me that in Texas they can do such and such, and they can only do such and such. Well, I don't know Texas law, so I'm not even going to question him on it. I'm saying, well, this happened in Georgia. This is in Georgia. This is not in Texas. So what are you talking about? You don't have no idea what you're talking about. And I throw 16.3-24 and 16.3-24.2 at him. He comes back and says, you can't do those things that you've done. You have to be deputized to do them. I'm like, what the fuck you mean? No, I don't. Yes, you do. I'm like, no, you don't. And he says, well, you weren't deputized. You can't do those, the shit that you did, caught up with you, and you can't do none of that stuff. And but where's your proof? And so, as a form of his proof, he goes to a Georgia site that trains security guards and security officers, people who want to work in the security field. And he says, yeah, it's like I thought. Georgia laws are similar to Texas laws, so all you can do is arrest for felonies and breach of peace. That's all you can do. Like, what? Where the fuck did he get that from? I don't understand. That's all, he's telling me that's all I can do. But he agrees, because I have no more power than a normal citizen. So we agree that I have no more power than a normal citizen. So that's our baseline. No more power than a normal citizen, but yet I can't arrest for anything but felonies and breach of peace. That's kind of interesting. I find that very interesting. So, I go ahead and say, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because, that's me. And then I started hitting him with some law. So he can look it up. because he gave me a link to look up what he was talking about. I'm just going to go ahead and give him the statute. Georgia 17-4-60. Arrest of persons by a private person. A private person may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or her presence, or within his immediate knowledge or her immediate knowledge. If the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and plausible grounds of suspicion. So, there's a caveat on felony. It can be a little less in a certain situation, but we're going to stick with the first part of it. A private person may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. So what is an offense? Well, the statute doesn't go ahead and define offense. So you go to the legal dictionary, and offense is a crime. A crime is a misdemeanor or a felony. It's not a city ordinance. The ordinance is not a crime. It's a misdemeanor or a felony. It's a state law. It's a crime. So there we go to shoot down his first part of his argument that I can't arrest for nothing but felonies, because in the Georgia statute says a private citizen can arrest for a misdemeanor, can arrest for any crime. So that throws that out. I mean, that just killed this whole argument right there. But I don't stop there. Why would I stop there? My name is Darren Long. There's no reason to stop there. Now, initially, I sent them the wrong case law. I sent them Smith versus State. Right? You know, I kind of like, okay, Smith versus State. I've seen this before. I read this. But it was the wrong one. I should have sent them Pickney versus State. And State versus Pickney, or Pickney versus State, it was a case that went to the appellate court and was decided on May 22nd, 2002. And here's what the judge had to say about, where's it at? Man. Here's what the judge had to say about 17-4-60. 17-4-60 provides in pertinent part that a private person may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. That's what the statute says. It does not distinguish between misdemeanor and felony offenses. Stop. I don't even have to go any further than that, right? What I keep telling people is that your opinion doesn't matter, that, you know, the appellate court's opinions matter, the judge's opinion matters. You know, everybody has an opinion. They're like assholes. Everybody's got one, but yours don't matter. That asshole opinion matters because he gets paid for his opinion to matter. So not only did I give this Mr. Muhammad gentleman a statute that says I could do it, but then I went and found the case law, which I had previously found before, where the judge says that I can do it, that there is no difference between a misdemeanor and a felony in this statute, and that you can arrest for either. So could I go out on the street and arrest people for jaywalking? Yeah, I could. Was it reasonable? Was it ordinary and usual that a security? No, it wasn't. And it wasn't a serious enough offense. Could I arrest somebody for drug dealing? Yes, I could. Was it reasonable? Was it ordinary and usual? No, it wasn't ordinary and usual. You could do it. Would it be prudent? Would it be wise and cautious? Yeah, throw out wise. Would it be cautious? What a cautious man would do? No. But could you do it? Yeah, you could. Because the law said that you could. Now you got to think about reasonable force, how much force it takes to arrest a person, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And then you have to determine whether or not you want to do it. Do you want to take that risk? When I was inside the mall, I had those legal protections, 16.3-24 and 16.3-24.2. I could do these things. I could terminate your presence there, whether I could take you in, whether I decided to take you into custody or I wanted to push you out the door. I just happened not to want to send a whole bunch of people to jail. I really wanted them to go away, but if I wanted to arrest them, I had the legal right. And so, I mean, really, that's how you look things up. You know, you don't know what offense. What's an offense? I can arrest for an offense. What's an offense? You go to a law library like Black's Law Library, or you just say the legal definition of offense. Bam. And go about 2-3 pages deep, maybe 5 pages deep. You know, you just looking for the legal definition. Law library. You're looking for several of them because you're looking for like some kind of consistency. So, and then you go look for case law. So, around that offense. And listen, when you're doing legal research, this is not no 15-minute thing, no 30-minute thing. You know, you're gonna look up this stuff for like a couple hours, minimum, and probably a couple hours every day for about a week, because you want to make sure you got all your bases covered. And if your ass is in the jam, you want to know every law. You want to know British common law, because all U.S. law is based off of British common law. You want to know these things. Where's that quote in here? I saved it. You know, where's it at? It's basically what Yvette Carnell said. Every man is supposed to be cognizant. They're supposed to understand and know the law, as it is the rule by which every subject is to be governed, and therefore it is his business to know it. Ignorance of the law is no protection from the law. You're supposed to know it. You can't be grown and not know it. You're being ruled by it, so you should be aware of it, understand it, know what the fuck's going on. I don't know how else I can help you. And when he told me that Texas law was similar to Georgia law, you know, I don't know. I've seen some things though. I know Georgia law is not similar to Michigan law, because Michigan law won't allow you to arrest for a misdemeanor unless it's retail fraud. Not generally, they're not having it, but they will allow you to arrest for a felony whether you've seen it or not. Whether it happened today or 5 days ago, as long as that person did indeed commit the felony. However, if you don't have immediate knowledge of it, you know, I wouldn't arrest the guy. I wouldn't arrest that person. He'd been yet to be adjudicated. And if he's found not guilty, then you have to worry about, I don't know, I wouldn't say false arrest. I would say something else. I don't know if it's here. Hold on. Justice State versus Pinckney. That's Glazer. Hold on. Smith versus State. And I put Smith versus State and Pinckney versus State. But false imprisonment. Smith versus State about false imprisonment. So, you know, there's those issues to take into consideration that you really don't know at all. What am I saying? Stop. I apologize. Listen, there's a whole bunch of things to take in consideration when you're doing something. So if you see reasonable man and reasonableness and this and that and the other, you know, take all that out. You put in cautious. Cautious is to avoid risk and decide whether or not it's worth the risk. And that's what you need to determine. Oh yeah, somebody took somebody into custody. Listen, when you take somebody into custody, when you put the handcuffs on them, you are 100% responsible for their safety. 100%. Criminally, civilly, everything. You're 100% responsible for their safety. And if anything happens to them while you're in custody, while they're in your custody, especially if you own the company, you're probably going to have to shut your company down, because they're going to sue your company and your insurance rates are going to go up and you're out of business. So I wouldn't put people in custody unless I absolutely had to. Well, generally. That's me. That's what I would do. You know, you pissed me off. I told you to stay out the place so many freaking times. Yolanda Smith, Tobias Moody. You know, I see a snatch robbery. You know, I stop you. I go ahead and handcuff you. I take you someplace. You know, can't nobody get you. I immediately call the police, turn you over to civil authority. I mean, to local authority. You know. Anyway, this video's done and I'm done with it.